my name is Aubrey. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to another very exciting book haul. I have once again waited way too long to haul my books and have accumulated, of course, just an absurd amount. My last book haul was 5 months ago. This book haul, I fear, is going to be a little bit different than my other book hauls. This time around, I've got a little bit of everything. I, of course, have some fantasy and sci-fi, but I also have a fair amount of horror. I have some thrillers and mysteries. I've got rom-coms. I have some historical fiction. I have some literary fiction. There's a lot. There's a lot here. So I'm gonna try to go through everything relatively quickly, so we're not here all day. These are in no particular order. I'm just going to be pulling them off the stacks. So first up, I have Water Moon by Samantha Soto Yambo. This was a very recent acquisition. I am currently reading this and really enjoying it. It's a very whimsical tale. We're following a woman who has inherited her father's magical pawn shop where people can come in and pawn off their regrets and memories and things like that. And one day she wakes up to find that her father has gone missing and she has to go on a magical journey to find him. And together on her journey is some random guy from Tokyo who shows up in her pawn shop and decides to help her. This is just the regular edition, but it is stunning. Look at the end papers. The naked hardcover is really pretty. There's even reversible dust jacket art. For just a normal edition of a book, this is breathtakingly beautiful. They did a great job with it. One down, a million to go. Next up I have We Used to Live Here by Marcus Klewer. And this is a horror novel that I feel like people have just been raving about. I saw it on so many best of lists and just I've just seen people really gushing about this. From what I understand, this is about a queer couple who renovate houses, and one day a family shows up to one of the houses that they're renovating. The husband says hey, I used to live here. Do you think that I could show my family around and look around the house that I grew up in? And the couple's yeah, I guess so. Seems innocent enough. As soon as the strangers enter the home, uncanny and inexplicable things start happening, including the family's youngest child goes missing and a ghostly presence materializing in the basement. Even weirder, the family can't seem to take the hint that their visit should soon be over. And when Charlie suddenly vanishes, Eve slowly loses her grip on reality. Something is terribly wrong with the house and with the visiting family. Or is Eve just imagining things? So yeah, I absolutely cannot wait to read this one, and I'm so happy to finally have it. Next up, I have Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. I very recently finished this one and I absolutely loved it. So it takes place in the early 70s, I believe. Yeah, 1970. And we are following a 15-year-old girl who gets pregnant. And she gets shipped off to this home where she is expected to live out the rest of her pregnancy in secret, deliver the baby, and then give the baby up for adoption, and then go back to her life as if nothing ever happened. There, of course, she meets an array of different, interesting, quirky, disturbed girls who are going through this really big, terrifying thing. They're all lamenting the fact that they have no control over their lives. They're young teenagers. They get no say in literally anything. They don't get a say in what they eat. They don't get a say in how they spend their time. Everything that they do is really closely monitored. One day, a mysterious librarian offers our main character a book about witchcraft. This isn't a wrap-up, so I won't go too much into my thoughts, but I really did love this one. So yeah, Witchcraft for Wayward Girls, highly recommend. Next up, I have Magpie Murders by Anthony Horowitz, and this I found at a thrift store. I picked this up because Jordaline from Jordaline Reads really loved it, and I wanted to give it a try as well. I feel like mysteries and thrillers and horror are 3 genres that I've been really craving lately, so I just wanted to have a few in my collection to pick up when I was ready for a mystery. So we're following the editor of a very famous best-selling mystery writer, and she gets the manuscript for like his newest book. She has no reason to think it will be any different from the others. There will be dead bodies, a cast of intriguing suspects, and plenty of red herrings and clues. But the more Susan reads, the more she realizes that there's another story hidden in the pages of the manuscript. One of ambition, jealousy, and greed, and that soon it will lead to murder. So yeah, I think this is supposed to be, I don't know, like Agatha Christie-esque. I'm really looking forward to reading this. Also at that thrift shop, I snagged Bright Young Woman by Jessica Knoll. And my sister-in-law went on and on and on about how much she loved this. This is a fictionalized version of events of like the Ted Bundy murders, and I think it solely centers around like the stories of the women. And I think it is largely like a critique about, you know, the media and the way that Ted Bundy was like talked about and treated. The title itself is a reference to the judge who literally called Ted Bundy like a bright young man. And in general, the way that we kind of revere serial killers and hold them up on like a pedestal for some fucking reason rather than like caring about the lives of the women that these monsters take, you know? Again, really excited to read this. I'm looking forward to this a lot. Next up, I have just an enormous stack of Aardvark books. Again, I'm going to try to get through these kind of quickly. First up, I have American Rapture by C.J. Lead. And this is a horror novel about a virus spreading across America, transforming the infected, making them feral with lust. Sophie, a good Catholic girl, must survive the hellscape of the Midwest to try to save her twin brother while the world around her burns. Along the way, she discovers there are far worse fates than dying a virgin. I feel like this is horror satire. It sounds incredible and I'm really dying to read it. Next, I have Hungerstone by Kat Dunn, and this is a Camilla retelling. So, in the height of the Industrial Revolution and 10 years into Lenore's marriage to steel magnate Henry, their relationship has soured. When Henry's ambition takes them from London to the remote British moorlands to host a hunting party, a shocking carriage accident brings the mysterious Camilla into their lives. Camilla, who is weak and pale during the day, but vibrant at night. Camilla, who stirs up something deep within Lenore, and before long, girls from the local villages fall sick, consumed by a terrible hunger. As the day of the hunt draws closer, Lenore begins to unravel, questioning the role she has been playing all these years, torn between regaining her husband's affection and the cravings Camilla has awakened. Lenore will soon uncover a darkness in her household that will place her at terrible risk. I love a good vampire novel, and I love a Camilla retelling, so this was, I believe, my February pick, and you bet I snatched it up. In that same box, I also got Junie, and this is by Erin Crosby Eckstein. Look at this cover. Is that not the most beautiful thing you've ever seen? I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with this cover. It's so pretty. And this is a magical realism historical novel. 16 years old and enslaved since she was born, Junie has spent her life on Bellarine Plantation, cooking and cleaning alongside her family and tending to the White Master's daughter, Violet. Her daydreams are filled with poetry and faraway worlds, while she spends her nights secretly roaming through the forest, consumed with grief over the sudden death of her older sister, Minnie. When wealthy guests arrive from New Orleans, hinting at marriage for Violet and upending Junie's life, Junie commits a desperate act, one that rouses Minnie's spirit from the grave, tethered to this world unless Junie can free her. She enlists the aid of Caleb, the guest's coachman, and their friendship soon becomes something more. Yet, as long-held truths begin to crumble, she realizes that Bellarine is harboring dark and horrifying secrets that can no longer be ignored. With time ticking down, Junie begins to push against the harsh current that has controlled her entire life, as she grapples with an increasingly unfamiliar world in which she has little agency. She is forced to ask herself, when we choose love and liberation, what must we leave behind? The synopsis just sounded really good to me. Aardvark allows you to like sample the first page, and that way you can see if you like vibe with the writing style, and I really enjoyed it. This is one that I was hoping to get to in February. I probably will not at this point, but I do hope to get to it soon. Next up, I have Private Rights by Julia Armfield, and I picked this up because I've been hearing such wonderful things about her other novel, Our Wives Beneath the Sea. Aardvark had this labeled as horror. I believe it might also be a little bit magical realism. It's a King Lear retelling, I think. Julia Armfield, award-winning author of the best-selling Our Wives Under the Sea, returns with a dazzling exploration of queer love and loss in a drowning world. With shades of King Lear, this is a breathtaking and ambitious novel that deftly weaves together our fragile present and possible future that hovers just out of sight. So yeah, it sounds kind of dreamy, kind of weird, and I'm interested. All right, next up I have The Reformatory by Tananarive Due, and this was Aardvark's like book of the year, so it's actually got this like really pretty foiling underneath. And like the ombre cover that matches, you know, the ombre cover. And this is another historical fiction horror novel. And it's about this 12-year-old boy who gets sentenced to 6 months at Gracetown School for Boys because he kicked the son of the largest landowner in town in defense of his older sister. And there at the school, he starts seeing ghosts and haints that I think are like telling him what really happens at the reformatory, whatever that means. It sounds so good. I've heard such good things about it, and I am hopefully going to be reading it this upcoming month, so I'm really looking forward to it. Next up, I have After the Ocean by Lauren E. Rico, and I got this one kind of on a whim. It just had like a mystery element that sounded really good to me. So 30 years ago, Emilia Oliveras and Paul Winstead get married in Puerto Rico, and 48 hours later, Paul vanishes from their honeymoon cruise, leaving Emilia devastated and the prime suspect of his disappearance. So today, Emily Oliver is a divorced music teacher and mother of 2 daughters who know nothing about her past. But when a cryptic caller claims the unthinkable, that Paul is alive, Emily returns to Puerto Rico in search of the truth. What she doesn't know is that her daughters aren't far behind. Shocked to find that their mother isn't the woman they thought she was, Gracie and Meg wonder how much their lives have been a lie. As the paths of the 3 women intertwine, they are compelled to confront their pasts, reevaluate their relationships, and seek forgiveness. Together they embark on a quest to unravel the mystery of Paul's disappearance and redefine their futures on their own terms, navigating a maze of family ties, secrets, and redemption. So yeah, I just really love stories centering women. And I really love stories centering like complicated, messy women, and I liked, you know, the mystery element of this sounded really intriguing. And yeah, I'm looking forward to checking this one out. Next up, I have Where I End by Sophie White, and this was in, I want to say, my October box. This is another horror book. And honestly, it might be too scary for me. Eowyn is cursed. She has no friends, never gone to school. She has never left this windswept, craggy isle off the coast of Ireland. Her mother is cursed. A silent wreck, Eowyn calls the bed thing. Alongside her grandmother, Eowyn's days are an endless monotony of feeding, changing, and caring for the bed thing. Their island seems cursed, whispering secrets only Eowyn hears. Then Rachel, a vivacious artist from the mainland, arrives with her colicky newborn. Rachel arouses yearnings Eowyn cannot fully comprehend. Soon, the unfolding of her mother's secret tragedy and Eowyn's pursuit of her own dark desires are both destined to unleash a maelstrom upon all 3 of their lives. Where I End is a modern Irish Gothic that will pull readers into its undertow of family resentments and relentless obsession. So yeah, I bought it because it was spooky season and I thought that I might get to it. And of course, you know, during the hurricane, I was thrown out of sorts and didn't get to nearly anything that I wanted to, but I don't know, it's the bed thing that gets me. I don't know why that sounds so horrifying, it just does. But this was a winner of the Shirley Jackson Award, so it must be pretty scary. We'll see if I get around to it this spooky season. All right, next I have The Scholar and the Last Fairy Door by H.G. Perry. And this is another historical novel. This one is fantasy, and it's set in Camford in 1920. Gilded and glittering, England's secret magical academy is no place for Clover, a commoner. She's there only to find a cure for her brother Matthew, one of the few survivors of a deadly fairy attack on the battlefields of World War I. When Clover catches the eye of golden boy Alden Lennox Fontaine and his friends, doors that were previously closed to her are flung wide open. But during the summer she spends in Alden's orbit, old and deadly secrets are unearthed. The consequences will only be truly understood many years later, when it's too late. Step into a mythic tale of secret scholarship, fairy curses, and the deadliest spells of all, the ones that friends cast on each other. I hadn't heard of this when Aardvark picked it, so I chose it because it sounded good. But after I'd gotten it in my box, I started hearing more things about it. It seems to be pretty well received, and I am of course looking forward to reading it. Next up, I have The Resurrectionist by A. Ray Dunlap, and I believe this is just a historical fiction. A dazzling debut of a dark academia in the early 19th century, The Resurrectionist brings to life the deliciously macabre adventures of a young medical student lured into the illicit underworld of body snatching. Historical fiction, true crime, and romance intertwine in a harrowing tale of murder, greed, and the grisly origins of modern medicine. I remember, again, the little like sample that Aardvark gave us sounded really funny. Like the tone of voice like had an element of humor to it that I just thought I would really enjoy. All right, and the last two books I have from Aardvark were unfortunately for a vlog that I had planned at the tail end of last year that, of course, because of the hurricane, didn't come to fruition. But I have My Vampire Plus One by Jenna Levine and Bride by Ali Hazelwood. In that vlog, I was hoping to read like supernatural rom-coms. I don't know if I should save these and try to do that vlog this year or if I should do something different, but I will be reading both of these at some point. My Vampire Plus One is about Amelia Collins, who desperately needs a date to a wedding, and so she asks Reggie, a centuries-old vampire. Bride is about a vampire who I think ends up getting married to the head of the werewolf clan. I have officially read an Ali Hazelwood that I actually really loved, so I'm even more excited for this. Hi, different day. I forgot to mention, if you are interested in checking out Aardvark, you can use the code Blackwell at checkout and get your first book for $4. You can also get 2 add-on books in your very first box for $10. It's an incredible deal. They always have really good horror picks, and I've really been enjoying my subscription, so that code is there if you'd like to check them out. All right, and next I have a slightly shorter stack of Book of the Month books. So first off, I have Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. I have not read Sally Rooney before, but I know she's very popular. I thought I would start with this one because I really like the cover. I tried reading it, like I sat down and I started it, and the whole like no quotation marks thing was really getting to me. So I think this might have to be an audiobook. But yeah, Sally Rooney, I just figured I should give her a shot. An exquisitely moving story about grief, love, and family, but especially love. I think it's about 2 brothers struggling with the recent death of their father. One is a lawyer in his 30s and the other is a competitive chess player. So yeah, I don't know. I am excited to give Sally Rooney a try, but I will, I think, be holding out for the audiobook. I have it requested through my library. The wait is quite long, but yeah, I will be getting to this eventually. Next, I have a very recent one, and this is Blackwood's Blue Sky by Eowyn Ivey. And this is a kind of magical realism, fairy tale-esque novel, and we're following a single mother, Birdie, and her daughter, who are like having a really hard time. This soft-spoken recluse, Arthur Nielsen, offers for them to come live with him in his cabin in the woods in like the Alaskan wilderness. Against the warnings of those who care about them, Birdie and Emily move to Arthur's isolated cabin in the mountains on the far side of the Wolverine River. It's just the 3 of them in the vast black woods, far from the roads, telephones, electricity, and outside contact. But Birdie believes she has come prepared. At first, it's idyllic. She can easily picture a happily ever after. Together they catch salmon, pick berries, and climb mountains that seem tall enough to touch the bright blue sky. But soon Birdie discovers that Arthur is something much more mysterious and dangerous than she could have ever imagined, and that a fairy tale like the Alaska wilderness can be as dark as it is beautiful. So yeah, it just sounded really magical and beautiful. Book of the Month also lets you like sample a snippet of the writing. I really liked the writing style, so I'm looking forward to this one. Next, I have Once There Were Wolves by Charlotte McConaughey, and I bought this because Gabby over at Gabby Reads really loved it and gushed about it, so I wanted to read it as well. And I believe this is a mystery thriller. So we're following Inti Flynn, who, with a team of biologists, is reintroducing gray wolves to the remote highlands. However, when a farmer is found dead, Inti knows where the town will lay blame. Unable to accept that her wolves could be responsible, Inti makes a reckless decision to protect them. But if the wolves didn't make the kill, then who did? And what will Inti do when the man she is falling for seems to be the main suspect? An unforgettable story of a woman desperate to save the creatures she loves if she isn't consumed by a wild that was once her refuge. So yeah, I don't know. This just sounds very, very good. It's nice and short. I went through a phase in middle school where wolves were like my favorite animal and they were kind of my obsession, and I like knew everything about wolves. So I don't know. There's just something about this that like tickles my brain and makes me feel kind of nostalgic. Next up, I have A Killing Cold by Kate Alice Marshall. This was my January pick, and I really enjoyed this. It's a thriller. We're following Theodora Scott, who is dating this like uber rich guy, and he invites her on like a family vacation that they always take to like their cabins in the woods or whatever. And the thing you need to know about Theodora is that she's adopted and she can't remember her life before the age of 4. Like she has no memories before the age of 4. And so when she gets to this place and these cabins in the woods, things start to feel kind of familiar to her. And she like starts having dreams and memories like come to the surface, and she finds a photograph of herself as a child on the premises. So it's all just kind of weird and fucked up, and she's of course gotta like investigate and figure out like what the photograph is doing there, and like why does she have these memories here, and you know, what happened to her. So, all right, next up, I have some rom-coms that I'm going to go through really quickly because they're very popular and I'm sure that you've heard of them. First up, I have The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood, Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston, and Beach Read by Emily Henry. And this was my first time reading any of these authors. I did a vlog for this, so I will leave that linked down below if you want to hear my thoughts on these books. I was reading popular romance rom-coms for the first time. Yeah, you should definitely watch that vlog. And then I also have The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year by Allie Carter. This was my December pick, and I had a lot of fun with this. It's about 2 mystery writers who get invited to this like mysterious manor, and it turns out that the mysterious manor is owned by like a really famous kind of Agatha Christie-esque mystery writer, and she, during the Christmas holiday, vanishes from behind a locked door. And so our 2 main characters have to investigate the locked door mystery, but the 2 of them also kind of have a rivalry going, and you know, it was cute and fun for a Christmas rom-com. All right, next up I have some paperbacks from that warehouse sale that my husband and I keep going to in South Carolina. First up from that sale, I have Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. I was very excited to find this because I found books 2 and 3 at that sale like one of the other times I've been, but they didn't have book 1, and this time they had book 1. So Half a Soul, I believe this is like a cozy fantasy romance involving fae. I'm really looking forward to reading this. I've been super into cozy fantasy, and I've been getting more into fae. I've heard such lovely things about this, and I can't wait to read it. I also picked up Ancillary Justice, Ancillary Sword, and Ancillary Mercy by Anne Leckie. And this is a sci-fi series about a spaceship that like becomes a soldier. So on a remote icy planet, the soldier known as Breck is drawing closer to completing her quest. Once she was Justice of Torin, a colossal starship with an artificial intelligence linking thousands of soldiers in the service of the empire that conquered the galaxy. Now an act of treachery has ripped it all away, leaving her with one fragile human body, many unanswered questions, and a burning desire for vengeance. I've heard excellent things about this. I am so excited to read this. They had all 3 books, and I got all 3 books because I have no self-control. They had a bunch of really good sci-fi this time around, actually, and that's pretty much mostly what I bought. So next up I have The Blight of Stars by Megan E. O'Keefe. And again, I bought this at the sale. I'd never heard of it, I'd never seen it, and I just like I read the back. I thought it sounded good, so I picked it up. And then after I bought it, I started seeing more things about it. So I think Carrie over at Carrie Can Read read this like somewhat recently, and she really liked it. I'm even more excited to read it. She's a revolutionary. Humanity is running out of options. Habitable planets are being destroyed as quickly as they are found, and Nara Sharp thinks the reasons may have something to do with the all-powerful Mercator family. He's the heir to the dynasty. Bookish and quiet, Tarquin Mercator, I don't know how that's pronounced, never wanted to get involved with his family's galaxy-spanning business empire. But Tarquin's father needs him to monitor an expedition to a new planet, and the Mercator family reputation hangs on the success of this mission. Disguised as Tarquin's new bodyguard, Nera plans to destroy the expedition's ship before they can make land, but neither of them expects to end up stranded on a dead planet. To survive, Nera will have to join forces with the handsome heir she's been sworn to hate. Together, they will uncover a plot that's bigger than both of them. So yeah, I don't know, this just sounded really fun. Like, I love that setup of like the bodyguard that's trying to kill this like important man who's bookish and quiet. It just sounded like it would have a lot of tension. It was a fun setup. So I picked it up and I'm really glad I did. I'm super excited to read this. Next, I picked up Infinity Gate and Echo of Worlds by M.R. Carey. I have read The Girl with All the Gifts by M.R. Carey and I really enjoyed that, and so when I saw these by him, I got excited. I'd never heard of them, but it's a sci-fi story about humanity's expansion across millions of dimensions and the AI technology that might see it all come to an end. Which actually sounds a little bit too relatable at the moment. But yeah, I just thought I would pick these up and give them a try because, you know, who doesn't love stories about the world coming to an end? Next up, I have Realm of Ash by Tasa Suri, and this is the second book in her Books of Ambha duology. The first book is Empire of Sand, which I was able to find at this same sale one of the other times that we've gone, and so I was very excited to find the sequel. I'm not going to read the back because it's probably going to be spoilery, and I can't really remember what the first one's about, but I've heard really good things about it. Tasha Suri is an author that I've been really wanting to get into. I've been wanting to read this duology for a while, so I thought I would snag the second book since it was there. Alright, so that is it for this book haul. Thank you so much for watching. Have you read any of these books? Do you want to read any of these books? Do you think that I should put any of these a little bit higher on my TBR? Please let me know. If you just want to say hi and let me know that you were here, please leave me some kind of bookish emoji. If you are interested in my rom-com reading vlog, I will leave that here for you. And if you would like to just watch another book haul, I'll leave another one here for you. Please like this video if you liked it and subscribe if you want to see more from me. I hope to see you next time. Bye!